how do you think, is there any sense to simulate some features of real match during practices? I'll explain what I'm talking about. For example, in our club, sometimes from time to time we try to modulate the situation of big break between first half and second half, because we realize one day we analyzed what happens, and we understood that, for example, in the third quarter it's like some kind of gap after this rest, which usually is about 15 minutes. So maybe they have about 4 or 5 minutes of shoot around before. And sometimes third quarters are not so good as we wanted, as we want them to be. So how do you think such things in training process have sense to make people get used to it or not?
Honestly, I've never tried that. It does, you know, every game is different than the next game, and I think we all have observed that the beginning of some third quarters is bad. But we also observe that the beginning of some third quarters are great. Is simulating this gap in the practice going to help? I don't know. I think there's two parts of it: is the mental part and the physical part. The physical part, obviously, you wind down, you go to the locker room, you drink your water, you eat your food, whatever people do. You come out, re-warm up. Yeah, you're not in the arousal level or the readiness level you were at the last second of the first half, but I think you can be pretty close if you warm up good and you do the right things. But mentally, I think it's some people might get distracted or start thinking, and I'm not sure if you can replicate that in practice. But you have to. The thing is, if you want to really find out if it's working, you have to do it long term, and you have to kind of do it like a study and just try to isolate other reasons that might cause you not to play well on the third quarter, and that's tough to do. We never did it. I was never in a team that we replicated 15 minutes break.
Have you ever heard about it? About this point of view? No,
I never. But it doesn't mean that you can do it for, I don't know, a couple of practices just to make a point. I don't know. Maybe it works for one team, maybe it doesn't work for others. It's just hard to tell. What is the right thing to do, because there's so many factors that go into winning a basketball game and playing good. After the outcome, we make a story that justifies the outcome. So let's say you win. After that, let's say you do this in practice and you do this 15-minute breaks and you win. And then you say, look, we won because of this, but it maybe has nothing to do with this. And it's just a coincidence, or it just happened a few times. And it's just, but we justify that action knowing the result. It's like the coaches, when they decide to foul or not at the end of the game. You're down 2 and I'm going to play defense or I'm going to foul. And then you don't foul and you receive a 3 and you lose a game. And everybody said, oh, it was a big mistake. Well, tell me that before it happens. Everybody knows the result, so the human mind just creates that story. And justify, of course. Well, tell me that before it happened, my man, not after. Now you have to make a decision before. So in all these things, it's trial and error. What fits your team? What fits your philosophy? Do the players accept it? Then you might try it.
Yeah, I understand. I agree. So if we will continue to speak about conditions a little bit more, can you describe your attitude to this type of work in short, in general? Because, for example, for some coaches, conditioning is still running suicide from one baseline to another one. But what's conditioning work for you?
Well, again, it depends on what period are we talking about. And
in season
we don't do any conditioning.
Because you have lots of games.
But I've been in teams that we did, because we had 1 game a week. For example, in Panionios, a couple of years we didn't play Europe, so we had 1 game a week, and then we had the whole week to prepare. So then it was good for our young guys, because they had a lot of training stimulus, because we worked one day, agility and jumps on the court. Then we did conditioning, and we lifted twice a week heavy. So they developed, so conditioning in season for me is short. You want intensity. The way I think about conditioning is about how much time I want people to move, what intensity, what break. Now, if suicides, you want to do, let's say, longer intervals with 30 seconds, and you want some stop and go, you can do suicides. It's boring as hell, but it will do the job. I have a set of exercises, like quite a few of them, but that involve the ball, that has some kind of basketball. From my day one in conditioning, I never liked the mindless running. Let's say just run up and down till you vomit.
Just reach the line.
But it will do the job, you know. It can do the job, and it builds some character sometimes. That you have people to do boring things over and over. Just as a mental toughness, but it's not my go-to method. I like to work in different intensities and create exercises that have some sense, that are not so much fun, but for example, if I want to have, instead of running 5 courts or 6 courts up and down sprinting, I do a fast break drill, really simple. I don't want to get into teaching and coaching. It's just get the rebound, pass the ball, this guy scores, this guy runs, this guy touches the line, so I make sure that everybody's running. And you know, I'm never going into, okay, you need to set a pick or anything. No picks, nothing, just run with the ball, or create some drills that require people to move for 15 seconds as fast as they can, but they have the ball, and then the rest for 30 or the rest for 15 or whatever I have. So the first thing that coaches need to think is not how the exercise will look, is what is the content, how long you're going to be moving for, what is your intensity, what is your break, and then direction of movement, and is there a lot of stop and going, and loading on the muscles, the eccentric load and the joints. So this is my
vision.
Kind of philosophy on that.
And if we will speak about numbers one more time, how do you think, how many percent of team success is occupied by strength and conditioning? For example, I'll explain my point of view. We have lots of options in the team, in every team. So I mean, team roster, genius of basketball coach staff, strength and conditioning coach, the whole organization by itself. And what do you think about strength and conditioning in all this picture? Is it because one Russian scientist, I watched his video once, and he said that physical conditioning stuff is about 15% of the whole success.
Well, yeah, I'd love to see how he came up with that number. I really cannot tell. I know it's important, and I'll just elaborate a little bit on that. The basketball games and are, like I said before, there's so many factors that go into it. Player talent is one, and maybe the most important. You don't have talented players, you're not going to win a lot of basketball games. Coaching is huge. The stability of the organization, the financial stability is number one. If people don't get paid, if you don't have enough money to buy good players, you don't buy good players, you don't have good coaches, there's no way you can win. Our performance, let's say science and the performance part, goes into many different directions. Obviously, it's the condition that the players are in. You have to make sure that they're healthy and they perform at their best. It sounds simple, it's not, like we know. You have to communicate with the coaches about planning and about different things like players' moods and players' attitudes, because we are spending a lot of time with the players. And if you're part of the skill of a strength coach is to feel and get information, get the feel of the team, and then filter it and try to convey to the coaching staff, so they can get valuable information on what the players are thinking. That's part of it. Take care of the nutrition, take care of the sleep, take care of the recovery. Interfere with things like that doesn't, travel times and where we're going to sleep and things like that. So it's very complex, and you can't really put a number on it. I've seen teams winning with mediocre, in my view, mediocre strength and conditioning programs. I've seen teams getting a lot of benefit from the strength and conditioning programs. So it's very, very important, but I cannot put a number on it. I've never seen in the literature that says, okay, 5% is coaching and 20% is. We had last year, we were playing bad. I don't, for people that watch the EuroLeague, we play the playoffs here, and we beat Baskonia on the first game. We lose the second game, and we go there on the third game, really pressed, and we have Nando De Colo scoring in 2 games 60 points. He was in a good shape. Yeah, he was trained, but he scored 60, man. He scored 15 points, I think, in one quarter or something. I don't remember. 12 consecutive. That's his talent. We won the EuroLeague because him and a lot of other guys performed well.
Roster,
The coach did a great job. The management supported us. We did our best. We brought injured people back. You know, what is the percentage?
Yeah,
You don't know. Talent, I think, the players are the leaders in this thing.
Yeah, of course.
But 15% is a pretty good percentage.
Yeah. Okay.
I take that.
I see. Let's talk about defense a little bit.
Yeah.
For example, defensive skills play a really big role in our game, and more than often, head coaches usually unsatisfied with defense, and even with small details like players' defense stance.
Yeah.
They don't like it, so because they don't go down deep on their legs and so on. So how do you think? Not how do you think, but what can you say about improving this moment in weight room, for example? What we can do, how we can manage?
That's a good question, because everybody wants people to play defense, but I've seen very few coaches really think about basic stuff like what is biomechanically the best stance to play defense in each phase of the defensive process, like full court press, half court press, defense within the 3-point line, defending a big, how do you place your feet so you don't get pushed around? So it's biomechanics. And people just get taught something, they, slide, when you slide, open the toe, point, well, is that good? What if you need to change directions? How are you going to change direction with the toe pointing? Okay, it'd be good to demonstrate, but what about shin angles? Or are your feet your shins, the lower leg is pointing upwards, pointing a little bit on the side so it can go sideways. Details like that don't concern coaches. They just want people to just go play defense.
Do this.
It's our job, and because I played basketball and I followed the coaching part of it quite a bit. I just got into thinking about, hey, how can I help my guys just slide better? And can they go in these positions that coach always asks them to? Can they get the butt down? Can they get your butt down and showing the numbers? Well, okay, if they don't, how this guy never gonna play defense? Does he know or she knows how to push with the more efficient way, how to stop, and how to decrease the forces going sideways? Then foot placement, shin angles, tibia, like shin is like tibia angles, chest. All this stuff goes into teaching before you lift 1 kilo or 1 pound in the weight room. You have to teach movement, and I always start with that with any level athlete. I did this in CSK. People look at me like, what are you talking about? You're a strength coach. Yeah, but it's biomechanics of movement, how you accelerate, how you stop, how you jump, how you land, how you slide, how you change directions. You're the best European player or the best player in the world. Well, you can get some improvement because when you slide into your right, your problem might be that you don't use your feet right. Well, I'm a great player, yeah, but you can improve.
Yeah.
But you're a strength coach, yeah, but I know movement a little bit better than that type of movement, let's say. So for sure you can improve. Get people to the positions that they need to get. Make sure they can get there with very low speed and low load. Teach movement, teach the biomechanics, and then design drills that might help, that make sense to the movement. And that's it. I think that's our role over there. And you always have to talk to the coach, because if you teach one thing in the weight room and he teaches another thing on the court, then you both look like idiots. And basically we look like an idiot, because the coach is the coach and he can say whatever he wants. And it's his team, it's his deal. But the player just loses faith. So that's another big thing, is how well we communicate with our coaches.
Great answer. I like it. I'll think about it later. Injuries are an integral part of our job, and it's sad, we all know about it. And how do you think, is it necessary for an injured player to attend team practices?
Absolutely.
Just sitting and looking.
Absolutely.
So
we have a rule here: nobody does treatment during practice. Maybe you can lose the warm up, and that's to help the physios kind of space out the very big load they have. But you're watching practice. The only time they'll make an exception if somebody is out for more than a few months. Okay, then you can just focus on your rehab. But we want everybody to be on board. We want everybody to watch what coach is teaching, because he's teaching. see how the team is playing, learn from the teammates, support the teammates, and be part of the team. Sometimes we take injured guys with us on the trips, just to be around the team.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Okay, I understand. Now we move to chapter 3. At the very beginning of the video, I forgot to introduce you like an owner of Performance 22, your training facilities in Athens, and the place where we got acquainted with you when I came to Athens. And it's well-known fact that Giannis Antetokounmpo, he usually prefers your facilities for some work in off-season. So can you please tell a few words about him, about his work ethic, because he make a huge step up last years. Yeah.
I first met his brother, Thanasis Antetokounmpo, who's also with the Milwaukee Bucks. Way back when, it was like maybe 2006, 2007, something like that. His agent called me, said, I got a kid from Nigeria. There's actually a lot, 4 brothers, and he's amazing. He's a really good athlete, and will you work with him? And I said, sure. Thanasis came in. We worked for a few months, and I got to know him real well. And he worked hard. They come, as people know now, from a difficult situation. The 4 kids, immigrants in a foreign country, not a lot of money. But he brought one day, and then he started bringing his brother, Giannis, who was like a thin, maybe 13-year-old kid. Didn't speak much, of course. He's just like a little shy. And then Big Sofo, Skortianitis, this another black guy that played in Greece, is Greek. He took them under her wing kind of for some years, and he started bringing him to our individual practice because I worked with Big Sofo for many years. And we worked for a few times on the court, and then he came in the weight room for another few times, and just young kid thing. Nobody really expected him to
be a star,
to be a superstar. They were very athletic. They were hard workers, but you could really. He was not one of these kids that said, this is what a great talent. Like, don't you say 16 years old, everybody was talking about him. Part of the reason is because he didn't have a passport, so he couldn't really play in the higher level, and he couldn't play in the national team, so he didn't get a lot of publicity. Maybe better for him, just make it work harder. But then he went to the States, and this kid exploded, and it's amazing. It's amazing for everyone. He does all of us. He's our ambassador, and he's just a great person. This one thing I have to say is, if you didn't know, it's hard to miss that he's playing basketball because he has an amazing body structure. He's working like crazy, but his mentality, he's so down to earth. He talks to everybody like he's his friends. And I was amazed at how humble this guy is, and how down to earth, and what a simple person he is to talk to. And everybody that wants a picture, he takes pictures. He's polite. He's smiling, talking to strangers, and being around all these guys with a lot of stars. Not everybody's like that. So he's just a great person, and I'm so happy for him and his family. That what he did for himself, his family, and the country. Let's say Greece. He does come with his trainers from Milwaukee Bucks. Suki Hobson just won the award in the NBA as best strength coach. And the staff, the physios, they use our facility most of the times, and we're proud of that. And I'm just happy to see him every summer, and just try to get a little bit next to him, just get a little get a light, and we're very appreciative that he comes to us.
The final chapter. Let's help to young generation of strength and conditioning coaches. Maybe you have any advices about education for them, some courses, maybe school, maybe books which you consider to be must-have, and maybe you have your own recipe of how to become a really high-quality specialist. What can you say?
Well, I don't think there's a recipe. It depends on where you're coming from. Like, definitely education is huge. I'm a big proponent of higher education. I know that there's a lot of people that, we all went to the university, and there was a lot of things in there that didn't relate to strength and conditioning, but at the end of the day, everything relates. I was used to think, I had sociology, what am I going to, because in Greek university was sociology, psychology, this, that, and every little thing that I had as a course relates to what we do. I used to hate statistics, and I find myself reading more on statistics, after I graduated than in school, because it's all about making sense of data. And now with these technologies coming in, you have to understand how these things are manipulated and how to make sense of it. Sociology, psychology, huge, because we're dealing with people.
Yeah, it's the key.
What do I need this for? Well, you got to understand. You got to understand the world. So a lot of the books that I read are not related to training at all. They're related about how we make decisions, how the brain functions, how we heal from trauma, psychological trauma, and just this blends into the person, and try to explain behaviors and where people are coming from. Definitely, I would go the more traditional way. Just get a 4-year degree related, and then do a master's. You want to be the next generation coach, get a degree on physical therapy. Then I think the future strength coach is going to be both. You got to understand injury and trauma as well as you understand performance. You got to speak the medical lingo. You got to understand the doctors. You got the combination would be doctor, physio, strength coach, but that's about 20 years of studying. And we had a big conversation in Greece, in my home country, about that, and people are fighting. Physios are fighting with trainers, and that's nuts. That's crazy.
Yeah, I understand.
We have to be one. And the doctors don't understand anything about performance and about the value of exercise. Now it's beginning to come into
some collaborations.
Yeah, so okay, well, you know what, maybe movement and exercise is the best treatment for some diseases before they escalate, before you start giving people drugs. But being a strength coach, you need to understand trauma, you need to understand injury, as well as you understand performance. And then spend all your money on courses, going to conferences, and just try to pinpoint, as you go in your career, find your niche, your interest, because you cannot know it all. My degree is in exercise physiology and sports nutrition. I'm heavy on biochemistry and things like that, but soon I realized that nutrition is not my thing. I understand a lot about it. I can write a very decent, very good nutrition plan. I understand research and the biochemistry of it, which is huge, because people come into us with supplements. Oh, this does what? This does this, and this is the magical pill. Well, wait, let's think. So find your niche and then try to be good at it, and always ask when faced with a question, what can you read and who you can ask. So now you come to the second part of the question, is what can you read? There's a lot of great books out there, and first of all, learn how to read research. Get the basics from the books, and then get the specifics from your research, and find a mentor. If you're early in your career, find a mentor. If you're later in your career and you find a mentor, that's even better. Have a group of people that are open and you can influence and be ready to open up and guide you. I taught Wright. I used to call him from Greece, say, I had this happening to me. What do you think? What would you do in my positions, kind of thing? What should I do? Which way should I go? Because these guys were or girls, make the mistakes, have the experience, so you don't have to make the same mistakes, and they can just guide you to where you want to go. I think mentorship is huge, and that's something that is lacking in Europe. We're closed. We don't have that mentality. We don't take interns easily, and we don't communicate. So
that's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
I think.
How are you going to produce the next good you? Like, how are younger people going to learn? And a lot of people that are a lot of coaches that have been in it for a while. Well, the young generation doesn't know nothing. Well, how are they going to learn?
Yeah.
You got to teach them if you're halfway good. If we're doing anything right, we have to teach. Try to teach our apprentices to be much better than we are. And I always love when people that I had at Performance 22, we have a big internship program. And I'm just excited every time people just do good things or get hired, and I'm waiting to see all these guys be better. And to be good at what you do, you got to be immersed in it. I never did anything else in my life. I just did training, strength conditioning, performance, high-level sports. And I did a lot of low-level sports on youth athletes, which taught me a great deal of things. But you got to be immersed in it. Don't take breaks for 2 years just to do something else. Okay, if you really need to do it, but just be immersed in it.
Yeah.
I don't give you specific titles of books because What is important for me, maybe you know, and just there's a lot of good things out there.
Of course, too many. I think too many
Exactly.
good books.
Now the challenge, when I started, in order to get information, you had to. That's the '90s. There's no internet, so you got to go to the library, or you got to and try to find a book. Most probably your library doesn't have it. They're just these publications of let's say this Verosansky and these guys were just not there. You want to talk to a coach and see what they do, you have to write him a letter or call him up, and then he would say yes, and or she had to accept you, and then you sit on a corner and you observe, and you're lucky you get some time to talk, and then VHS videotape. Young generation doesn't know what that is. What is a VHS? What is a video? Now you go on YouTube, you put explosive exercise, jump for basketball on Google, and it's like 5 million hits. And you see all of us here looking smart. And we all do the same things. And you see gyms in Greece and Europe popping up, performance training centers. They look the same. People think they're doing the same thing, but it's information is not knowledge. Nowadays, it's easy to find knowledge, but it's very hard now to structure it. So different types of difficulties in the different years, let's say.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. And I think last question for today. We live in 21st century, and technical progress is almost everywhere. So wearable technologies and so on, different types of. So how do you think will sport industry be still in need in humans, like life coaches like you and I, or process will be totally controlled by technologies? What do you think? For example, 10, 15 years later.
Who knows? You know, the way technology is going, you can never tell. But I believe that because we're dealing with humans, and humans are infinitely complex, and there's different. You know, every human is different. So it's like 8 billion. How many are we? Like 11? How many? We're dealing with people. We're dealing with minds. We're dealing with very complex beings, and I think that technology has a long way to go to replicate that or to understand it fully. Yes, we're going to be able to be getting more data easier, for sure. What this data means and where it will lead is a different question. You still need humans to think about it, but the interaction between two people, the coach and the athlete and the athlete, it's going to be very hard to replicate. So I think we're going to get more tools to do our job, but we still have to. Coaching is still going to be a human to human process. I think it's a long way until that happens, but especially in our field, because people need other people to trust. I think that's the core of human existence is this group needs. So I'm not sure if robots or AI can do this. So who knows? But definitely technology is going to play an increasing role in what we do.
So I think that we finished, and I hope it was interesting. It was useful for the audience, and I wanna say thank you one more time for the agreement.
Thank you all for the invite. I also hope it's interesting and people understand my English. Thank you for the invite, and good luck to you with the team and all the projects.
Same to you. Good luck in continuation of the season, and I hope we'll stay in touch.
We will for sure. I'm looking forward to that. Those goodies you have from the, East Russia. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Some are illegal.
Illegal stuff from Far East.
Okay.
So, see you.
See you next time.
Can you say in Russian "До свидания"?
До свидания. Спокойной ночи и спасибо большое.
Thanks.